everyone. This is Professor Ashok Kumar. I am working at the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Dr. Subhash Technical Campus. Dear student, chapter number 9, Power Screw and Threaded Joint, part 3 that we are going to discuss herein. This is third continuous lecture on same chapter, Power Screw and Threaded Joint. Previous part 1 and part 2, particularly in which I have delivered about power screw and threaded joint. Part 1 was entirely covered with the power screw. Part 2 was covered with the types of threaded joints, types of locking devices, and bolt of uniform strength like theories. So in that particular this lecture, we will discuss a lot about the application of threaded joint in real parts. That means there are few conditions of the fastener which can be easily used for the assembly of machine component, but it may possible that the condition may be different. That means in some special cases, you may find that the fastener are parallel or axis of fastener are parallel with external loading. It may possible that the same axis are perpendicular to each other. So all that different condition-based applications we will discuss. We will derive the relation for the same and a few numericals that of course we will solve. So starting with the first and very much important topic here, that is the design of bolt. So in order to design a bolt, look at the diagram first. You have given one simple, let it cylinder and a cover assembly. Cylinder is assembled with cover by using a simple bolt. So in such a particular condition, suppose you require to design a bolt, then you should to think a lot. For example, this is cylinder filled with a fluid. So due to high pressure of that particular fluid on cylinder cover, your first of all your shank of the bolt should be have the strong tensile strength enough which resists the external force imposed by the particular fluid. So design should be like that it can withstand the maximum amount of external forces, pressure, moment, or any kind of external loading that may subjected with that particular bolt. Now, herein, first of all, you require to calculate the stiffness of bolt and part. Basically, this will be the part, that means cylinder and cylinder cover. Kindly consider it as a part, whereas this is the bolt. So ultimately, we are going to design a bolt, and this is the assembly through which we will apply some relation, and we have the design of a strong bolt. Now, first step that is to calculate stiffness of bolt, and very famous equation of stiffness of any machine component. It is simple ratio of area into Young modulus upon length. So over here, if you are finding the stiffness of bolt, then it will become K suffix B is equal to K suffix B into E suffix B upon LB. And similarly, you can calculate the stiffness of assembled part like that. Now we know that joint is subjected to external force of PE. So whenever this force is going to be increased, this portion of bolt particularly will be elongated. That is very clear and fundamental. Whereas uh, the parts that are joined with this bolt, that means this, it will be get compressed. So over here, the relation become like that. PB upon KB is always equal to PB upon KP, because whatever the elongation is made is always equal to the parts that are going to be compressed. So this is this relation holds good at the end. Now, total external force that can be applied is known as a PE, and it will be definitely summation of force that is applied on bolt and the force that is applied due to fluid pressure on parts P. So that will be the total pressure, total force we can say. Now, once you have the total force, Then suppose there are 6 or 8 numbers of bolts, then it's time to discuss and evaluate the force that is equally shared by bolt. So force that is sharing by bolt, that will become PB is equal to K suffix B upon K suffix B plus K suffix P into PE. So that is the force shared by each and every bolt. Now after that, once you have calculated the force shared by each and every bolt, now you also require to calculate the same force shared by the connected parts. And it will become like P suffix P is equal to K suffix P upon K suffix B plus K suffix P into P. Now once you have calculated both of the force, and these are shared by the bolt and connected members or parts. Now total or resultant force on the bolt will become uh, F suffix P is equal to initial force as well, what we have recently calculated, force shared by bolt. So Pi remain Pi, but just put the values of Pp from the previous slide to here and solve it. So you will have the resultant force on bolt. It will become K suffix Pe plus Pi. Now there is a K, and that is the overall joint coefficient, and it is always being equal to K suffix P upon K suffix B plus K suffix P into Pe. So this is what about the resultant force on board. Similarly, you have to evaluate the relation for the connected parts or connected members. So resultant force on connected members will become Fp is equal to Pi minus Pp. Over here, if you are comparing the resultant force on bolt and resultant force on connected member, you might have the question. And question is that why in case of bolt, the both of the relation, that means Pi and Pp is sum up. Over here, Pi is subtracted. This is so because in case of resultant force on bolt, the direction of tightening force is same in same direction. Whereas in case of while you are tightening the cylindrical cover and cylinder with bolt, the force that is imparted by on the members due to pressure is opposite to that of initial pressure. So that's why over here the initial force on the connected member is subtracted from the initial force Pi. So once again, by solving this relation, you will have the relation like that. And once again, there is a constant K1, and K1 is generally known as overall gasket stiffness coefficient. So dear student, this is what about the design of bolt. Your bolt should be designed in such a way that it can withstand the maximum amount of not only fluid pressure, but maximum amount of various types of loading. And loading may be the direct loading, bending moment, shear stress, or whatsoever. Now, after the designing portion that we have discussed recently, uh, topic number 2, and that is stresses or various kind of stresses that are produced in fastener. So basically, entire nut and bolt assembly is divided in two parts. One's the stresses in bolt body, and other is stresses in particular bolt thread. So we should start with the stresses in bolt body first, and then we should discuss the types of stresses produced in bolt thread only. So over here, look at the first diagram, and then we have the discussion about the various type of stresses. There is two parts being connected with a nut and bolt assembly. If you are tightening well this nut head, it may possible that the shank of that bolt will be elongated, so tensile force acting over here. Of course, tensile is acting through nut head also, whereas both of the member are get compressed. So just focus upon bolt body first, and very much important types of stresses, that is direct tensile stress over here. So whatever the stresses produced in this bolt cross section or shank, that need to calculate first. And for that, it is very easy. A stress or tensile stress is equal to force upon cross sectional area. So this is the diameter of BC. So pi by 4 dc square, that will be the cross-sectional area. P is the external force that we are applied over here. So ultimately, the tensile stress will become P upon pi by 4 dc square. Suppose the connected member are try to move due to external loading in such a direction. So it may possible that due to uneven loading in transverse direction, like this direction or this direction, it will put force on bolt shank in such a way. So ultimately, there is a pair of the forces in lateral direction. So this portion of bolt shank, it may chance to fail over here. But this failure will be considered as a shear failure. This is so because the failure area is parallel to this external loading or external pair of forces that are acting to the cross section. So second and most important type of the stresses that may possible to arise is the direct shear stress. And once again, you have to just take a ratio of shear force, that is PS. Kindly consider that the force as a PS, and the area should be selected as shear area. So this will be the shear area. Once again, it will be same as that of the compression area. So shear area will be pi by 4 dc square. So this is the direct shear test that is produced due to transverse loading on connected members. Now, once you are you have calculated both of the tensile and direct shear test, then it may possible that in some application you will find that the combined loading or combined effect of such a stresses may be considered. So at that time, you just go through failure theories. First failure theory is the maximum principal stress theory. We all know that maximum principal stress theory is given by tau max is equal to 1/2 under root sigma tau square plus 4 tau square. If you are going through principal tensile stress theory, suppose you are observing that our connected or joint members are subjected with more tensile stress as compared to the shear stress, you should to go for the maximum principal tensile stress theory, and the relation is for the maximum principal tensile stress is like that: sigma T max is equal to sigma T upon 2 plus 1/2 under root sigma T square plus 4 tau square. So this is what are the types of stresses that particularly set up in bolt body. Now it's time to discuss the various stresses that are being produced in bolt thread alone. So kindly consider only threaded portion of bolt, not the shank, not the nut, not the head. Now, first and most important type of possibility of stresses that may be produced in threaded portion is the direct shear stress. And we know that suppose this is our thread, and if loading is acting in axial direction like that, so this portion of thread, it may possible that it will be fed under the shearing loading. So that's why we have taken the first most important traces, that is the direct shear stress, and the direct shear stress equation or relation for the axial threaded joint becomes tau s is equal to P upon pi dc T into Z, in which specifically dc is equal to core diameter, P is equal to external force, T stand for the thickness of thread, that means this T, and Z is equal to numbers of such a thread which are engaged with a particular nut, that is over here. So numbers of thread, that is equal to Z. By simplifying that relation, ultimately you are getting P upon pi dc into H. Over here, H is equal to height of nut, and that is always equal to thickness of thread and numbers of thread. So after that, once you are calculated the direct shear stress in particular bolt to thread, also you have to apply the same procedure in case of threaded portion in nut. So for that, the equation is similar, except one thing is that in place of the core diameter, you have to use the outer diameter, because the thread of the nut that being sheared off uh, is from the outer diameter. So kindly consider outer diameter or larger diameter in place of the core diameter. Third types of the traces that may being produced in threaded portion, that is the crushing trace. And it's very simple to calculate. Crushing or compressive stress is equal to P upon pi by 4 d minus dc square into z. Actually, it is like that. Suppose you have given one thread, and this is, for example, shank portion. This is other thread that we are going to discuss here. Now, suppose this is the outer diameter dc. This is the inner diameter. Sorry, this is outer diameter DO. This is inner diameter DC. So, whenever the external load over here W is applied, crushing failure takes place between these two. That means this portion and this portion. This is the area where crushing or compressive failure may take place. So in order to evaluate the relation of crushing stress, just you have to take the ratio of crushing or compressive force upon the area, that is the common area or area between inner and outer diameter of particular thread. That means this area. So pi by 4 dc square indicates this area, minus pi by 4 dc square, that means this area. So pi by 4 do square, that means this whole circle becomes, and from that you have to subtract the pi by 4 dc square, that means this area. So ultimately you will have this area, and this is the pi by 4 d square minus dc square into z. Z stand for the numbers of threads that are in engagement. Now, after designing of bolt and the types of traces that are produced in various knot as well as threaded portion or bolt, let's have the few examples to solve. And you have given one example. Look at the screen. There is a one bolt, cylindrical diameter is 150 mm that you have given. Maximum pressure in the cylinder is 3.5 Newton per mm square. Numbers of bolt are used in 6 numbers. Allowable trace for the bolt material is 15 Newton per mm square, and initial tightening is equal to 20,000 Newton per mm square. You have to take the overall coefficient for parts and bolt, and the relation strength for that is equal to Kp is equal to 3 into Kp. Now, by using that data, first of all, you require to calculate the overall stiffness coefficient by using this relation. And this relation we have discussed in previous slides. So it will give, by putting the values, it will have 0.25. Now, external load on each bolt is equal to the total load acting on particular cylinder bolt assembly divided by numbers of bolts that are being used. So ultimately, this is the external load 10,308.4 Newton, which is act on each and every bolt. Now, total load on bolt that we have already discussed in previous slide, that will become FB is equal to PI plus KPE. And by putting the relevant values, you have the total load on bolt is equal to 22,577.1 Newton. Now, force on bolt is very easy to calculate. Once again, from the stress and force relation, you can easily calculate force on bolt is equal to area into tensile stress. So by putting the relevant value, you will have the diameter, core diameter of threaded portion, and that is equal to 23.97 mm. And one more thing, that is that there is a definite relation between core diameter and outer diameter. So outer diameter is always equal to core diameter upon 0.24. So by putting the values of core diameter from here, and if you are solving it, you will have the outer or larger diameter. It will be the 30 mm. So this is what an example in which we have specially calculated the core diameter and outer diameter. Topic number 4. Now we are coming across the real or practical application of that what we design bolt or bolted joints. That is the point number 4, and it is an eccentric loaded bolted joint. It may never possible that there is a specific application of any threaded joint. That means axis of bolt is always collinear with axis of mating parts. It's never possible. In some practical instance, you will find that both of the axes have some specific relation. either one axis perpendicular to the other axis. It may be possible that both are coaxial, both have the inclination relation. So on the base of that different application, we are going to discuss this theory and look at the first application or the first topic that we are going to discuss, and that is eccentric loaded parallel to the axis of pole. That means in that particular theory, we are discussing a case in which the load is eccentric, that means this, and that eccentric load is parallel to the axis of bolt. So this is the first case in which axis of bolt is definitely parallel to the axis of external loading. And for that, you have given one figure. There is a one bracket. This means this is the bracket. This is the front view and this is the side view. And by means of 4 bolts, it is located with floor or any kind of wall whatsoever. Now, due to this external eccentric loading W, each bolt is loaded with direct tensile load like that. So it will becomes total load upon numbers of bolts. It's very simple. Now, the effect of that external loading W is not only to put the direct loading on each and every bolt. It will also cause a twisting moment because it is an eccentric. So over here, force into perpendicular distance up to this, or you can also select this bolt also. So it will cause any kind of twisting moment on respective bolt system that you have taken. So over here, there are two functions fulfilled by the external load. One is the direct tensile load that is produced on each and every bolt, and other one is to produce twisting, or we can say that the simple moment on bolt system. So in conclusion, we can say that due to that both of the effect, each bolt is stretched by an amount depends on its distance from the tilting edge. That means the bolt who are far away from the tilting edge having the highest twisting moment, whereas the bolt we are located nearest to the tilting edge having the effect of less amount of twisting moment. So let's start to derive the relation for the same. Before it, let a few assumption is taken. Small w stand for the load in a bolt per unit distance due to turning effect, and W1 and W2 is the load on each bolt, which are located from the distance L1 and L2 from the tilting edge. Now, first of all, you have to calculate load on each bolt at distance L1. So it will become capital W1 is equal to small w into capital L1. This is the point load or direct load. And this is the load definitely acting on bolt per unit distance. So over here, distance is L1. So total load that will be acting on each bolt or at the bolt which are located at a distance L1 will become W1 is equal to W small w into L1. Similarly, you can calculate the moment due to this load we have calculated over here. Is that moment is equal to force into perpendicular distance. So this is the force, and we know that the bolt is located at a distance L1. So ultimately, moment on the bolt will become small w into L1 square. You can follow the same procedure for bolt number 2, and you can calculate the moment like small w into L2 square. Now, total moments due to that particular load, it will become the summation of the moment of first bolt and summation of a moment which is acting on bolt number 2. So by summing up, the total moment will become 2 small w L1 no square plus 2 small w L2 no square. This is the total moment imposed by external loading, and also we can calculate the moment due to directly external load W2. So over here, the moment due to external eccentric load is equal to W into N, and both of the moment should be unequal. That means it is the kind of the procedure that first of all you are calculating the small moment, and by summing up, it will always equal to the moment which is produced by two external loading. So over here, by equating both of the relation, you will have the value of or relation of small w, and that is equal to capital into L upon 2 bracket L1 square plus L2 square. Now it's time to find the bolt system or the bolts which are subjected with higher loading. And generally bolts which are located far a distance from the tilting edge is always subjected with the highest loading. So we have to design based on higher loading, not the lower loading. So first of all, decide in particular your bolt system in which specific bolt is heavily loaded, and concentrate or focus on it and design accordingly. Now, tensile load that is act on bolt at a distance L2, that will become WT2 is equal to small w L2 is equal to capital W L L2 upon 2 L1 square plus L2 square. Actually, this relation is taken from the relation that we have discussed in previous slide. So one more thing, we have chosen the bolt which are located at a distance L2 because we know that the L2 is far away from the L1. So the distance L2 at which the bolt is loaded is heavily subjected with the stresses. So we have to design accordingly. So total tensile load on the most heavily loaded bolt will become WT1 plus WT2. And also the total load that initially we have considered, that total direct tensile load acting on bolt, it will become area into stress. So by equating both of the relation of the total tensile load on most heavily loaded bolt, you can have the value of delta C, because sigma permissible that you have given W2T that you have already calculated. So this is the way in which you can design a bolt by keeping a core diameter fixed in a sufficient way which resists the external loading and moment or twisting moment. And from that DC or core diameter, other geometrical parameter of threaded portion like outer or mean diameter or pitch diameter or even lead, you can calculate and evaluate it. Now, based on that eccentric load theory, we are going to solve uh, an example. Look at the screen. You have given one bracket, and basically you have to find out the size of bolt. Size of bolt, that means the core diameter you require to calculate. You have given few data. 30 kilonewton is the load, eccentric load that is acting downward direction at a distance L, capital L from the tilting edge. You have also given maximum allowable tensile stress in the bolt material, that is 60 megapascal. Distance L1 and L2 are 80 and 250 mm respectively. And the distance of external loading from the tilting edge, that is capital L, is also given, and that is equal to 500 mm. So first of all, as what we have discussed in previous theory, same theory, you need to calculate the tensile load carried by each bolt, and that is always equal to total load upon numbers of the bolt that you are using. So over here, by putting the values, the tensile load on each bolt becomes 7.5 kilonewton. Now the load in a bolt per unit distance can be calculated by using that relation. Small w is equal to capital W into L upon 2 L1 square plus L2 square. Now after that particular calculation, if you are looking carefully the figure that you have given, from the figure one can easily see that the most heavily loaded bolt is at a distance L2, because uh, this is the tilting edge, and the distance, if from the tilting edge, if more and more, then the stress, the value will be more. So over here, as compared to L1, L2, or the distance of L2 at which this bolt is located is subjected with higher stresses. So our heavily loaded bolt is located at L2, so bolt number 2, that is the heavily loaded bolt. And so that the heavily loaded bolt, we should to calculate the load acting on particular that bolt, and that is equal to WT2 is equal to small w into L2. It will give us a 27.25 kilonewton. Now, maximum tensile load on that particular bolt number 2 will become WT1 and WT2 that we have recently calculated. So by summing up both of the loads, you will have the total load that is act on maximum heavily loaded. And once you have the calculate maximum heavy load on bolt number 2, it's very easy to calculate core diameter because load is equal to area into permissible stress. So by putting all that value of sigma t and total load WT over here, it gives us a relation of core diameter, and that is equal to 27.2 mm. After that, the second condition of application of the loading with respect to geometrical axis of bolt is that if you are finding an eccentric load which acts perpendicular to the axis of bolt, then there will be a little bit change in design. Look at the diagram clearly. You have given one bracket, and whatever the load is acting, having the relation, perpendicular relation with that bolt axis. So over here we can say that the axis of load and axis of bolt having the 90-degree angle between them. So in such a condition, uh, first of all, you require to calculate uh, the shearing load, and that is equal to total load upon numbers of bolt. Because we all know that if you are applying load over here, increasing it, your bolt will fail in shearing like that. So this is the load and this is the shearing area. Both are parallel, so the load will be the shear or the failure will be the shear failure. Once you are calculating the shearing load on each bolt, uh, you have to calculate maximum load at bolt. And as previous theory is similar, just you have to follow over here too. So WT2 is equal to WT, and that is equal to capital W, capital L into capital L2 upon 2, L1 square plus L2. So once you have calculated the shearing load on each bolt and the most heavily loaded bolt, you have to go for the equivalent tensile load, and that is equal to WTE is equal to 1 half bracket WT under root WT square plus 4 into WS square. If you are using the relation for equivalent shear load, then the relation holds for equivalent shearing load WSE is equal to 1 half bracket WT square plus 4 into WS square. From the above both of the relation, you can calculate the size of the bolt, that means the core diameter of bolt. Just you have to, what you should to do first, you should to calculate WS, you should to calculate WT2 summing up, so it will give the total load on heavily bolt, and that load should be either equate with equivalent tensile load or equivalent shear load. Suppose you are equating with both of this relation and you are finding two values of DC, larger should be taken then. So this is what the case of an eccentric load which are acting perpendicular to the axis of bolt. Now based on that particular theory, we have one example to solve. You have given one traveling crane in a workshop, and bracket are fixed on steel column as you may see in figure. Maximum load F on that bracket will be the 12 kilonewton vertically, and it acts 400 mm distance at a distance from the face of column. So over here L is 400 mm. Also, there are 4 bolts to locate the clamp with wall overflow. Generally, distance you have also given 375 mm the vertical distance between two bolt system, and 50 mm for the lower edge of the bracket to the particular bolt system row. So this is what few data you have given. You have also given the permissible tensile stress for the bolt material, that is 80 megapascal. And by using that relation, you require to calculate the cross-sectional diameter and core diameter. So this is the example and its data. Let's solve and calculate the core diameter. First of all, is what we adopt the same theory in previous cases. Over here too, you have to first calculate the direct shear load on each bolt, and it will becomes capital W upon N. So it will give 3 kilonewton, that is the direct shear load. Once you have calculated direct shear load, then calculate the maximum uh, uh, load or tensile load carried by the bolt, and that is the bolt number 3 and 4 because it is far away from the tilting edge. So calculate the maximum tensile load on bolt number 3 and 4, and it will be gives Wt is equal to WL L2 upon 2 L1 square plus L2 square. So by putting exact value over here, you will have the W2 is equal to 6.29 kilonewton. Now, once you have calculated both of the direct shear and the maximum tensile load, you just go through equivalent twisting moment, like WTE is equal to 1 half Wt plus under root Wt square plus 4 into Ws square. It will give us a 7,419 Newton. That is the magnitude of equivalent twisting moment. Once again, you should also calculate equivalent tensile load. So for that equivalent tensile load, load is equal to area into stress. So by putting the proper value, it will give us a pore diameter is equal to 10 mm. But there is a one standard table which specifies the various geometric parameters of threaded portion like DC, DO, pitch, lead, or swavel. So if you are looking at particular standard table, then you will find 11.54 mm nearby this core diameter 10 mm. So kindly select, this is the final one, 11.54 mm, that is the pore diameter taken from the standard table. And the bolt size that is given in that particular standard table will be M14. Now, just you require to calculate the section modulus, and section modulus will become Z is equal to 1 by 6 TB square. Now, maximum bending moment on the bracket will need to calculate, and that is equal to load into perpendicular distance. It will give us a maximum bending moment is equal to 4.8 into 10 raised to 6 Newton into mm. So once you have bending moment and section modulus, you can have the bending stress. And sigma b is equal to m by z. But sigma b that you have given 84, a bending moment that you have already calculated, put that value over here, and z is equal to tb square over here. Put the values of tb square. So by solving this relation, you will have the t is equal to 343 into 10 raised to 3 upon b square. But now assume that the width of the section is 250 mm, and putting that value over here, you will have the thickness is equal to 5.5 mm. So this is what the cross-sectional dimension T 5.5 mm, and by putting that value into the various equation, you will have the more design parameter. Now, third types of the condition that we are coming across, that is eccentric load, which are act in the plane containing the bolt. That means, suppose there is a bracket and which is fixed on the vertical floor, and load is applied perpendicular, but it will be in same plane as that of the bracket fixed. It will be known as a plane eccentric load in the plane containing the bolt. That means whatever the load act in plane is parallel to the plane in which bolt are mounted. This is the simple the explanation of this condition. Look at the diagram. From the diagram, you can easily understand. You have given one bracket system. Look at 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolt system are there, and plane of that bolt system are exactly the parallel to the plane to which this force P is acting. So over here we can say that both of the plane are parallel to each other, and condition of the particular loading is satisfied. Now, suppose you have given such a condition and you require to design a bolt. That means you require to calculate BC and D. At that time, first of all, first and most important step towards the designing of such a bolt is that you have to calculate X bar. Ultimately, we require to calculate center of gravity of the entire bolt system. So it's very simple to calculate X bar, and that is equal to A1x1 plus A2x2 plus A3x3 up to numbers of bolt upon A1 plus A2 plus A3. By solving that, we know that area of each and every bolt is remain same. So A1 is equal to A2 is equal to A3 is equal to A. So by solving that relation, ultimately you will have AX1 plus AX2 plus AX3 up to numbers of the bolt that you have used, and upon n into that means numbers of bolt into area of a particular bolt. So by simplifying still, it will give us x1 plus x2 plus x3 dot 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 upon n. Same procedure you can also follow for the calculation of y bar. Now we know that force in previous two theories, we have also discussed that the force is directly proportional with the distance at which your bolt system is located. So we can write like that. F1 is proportional with L1, F2 is with L2, and so on. So from this relation, you can derive equation F1 upon L1 is equal to F2 upon L2, and that is equal to F3 upon L3 up to numbers of bolts that you are using. So from that relation, we can easily derive one new relation that is equal to F2 is equal to F1 into L2 upon L1, and F3 is equal to F1 into L3 upon L1. Now, after a relation that we have described between force and distance on various bolt, uh, direct shear load act on each bolt is parallel to external load. That is from the diagram we can easily predict, and due to that, there are two criteria that you have to take care of. Look at the previous slide. This is the direct shear load, which cause direct shear load to each and every bolt system, and along with it, this shear force is having the eccentricity with particular that bolt system, so it will create a little bit twisting or turning moment to each and every bolt system. So there are two criteria that you have to select. One is the direct shear load, and second one is the turning moment, and based on that turning moment, you have to design your bolt in such a way. Now, first of all, calculate the external turning moment and internal turning moment. Equate both of like that. P into E, that is external turning moment, and F1 into L1 plus F2 into L2 up to numbers of bolt system. That will be your internal turning moment. So by putting the values of F1 into L1 and F2 into L2 over here, and by simplifying it, it will give us a relation F1 upon L1 is equal to L1 square plus L2 square up to. Now, as we know that there are basically two kind of forces acting. One is direct shear load, and second one is secondary shear force or stress due to turning moment acting due to the external loading P. So over here, due to that two primary and secondary shear loading, you require to calculate the resultant of it. So resultant will give us a PS plus F square plus 2PS into F force theta. Also, R is equal to pi by 4 d square into T. So, R stand for the load or force. So, by equating both of the relation, by putting the values of R over here, you can calculate the rivet diameter D. And once you have calculated rivet diameter D, then you can have the calculation or derivation of other geometric parameters of threaded joint too. One more thing that we should discuss here is that look at the diagram. This is a bolt system that you have given. 1, 2, 3, and 4 there are bolt. Over here there is a bracket, and on that particular bracket external load or eccentric load W is applied. So what happens due to that particular W, direct shear load is act in this direction. So this is the first case that we have calculated direct shear load. Now, in order to identify the secondary shear load and its direction, suppose you are applying load W over here, and due to that W, your bolt system is going to be move or produce turning moment in this direction. So every bolt is subjected with turning moment like that. So based on that turning moment direction, one can easily evaluate the direction of secondary shear force. And suppose this is particularly if we are talking about the bolt number 1, then due to this force into perpendicular distance, it will move in this direction. It will cause the shear stress or shear force to be produced in this direction. Similarly, in case of bolt number 2, secondary shear force will produce in this direction. In bolt number 3, secondary shear force will be acting in this direction, and bolt number 4, the secondary shear force will be acting in this direction. Then question may arise that in which how to identify the direction of secondary shear force. Well, it's very easy. Suppose you are applying load W over here. So due to that W, and if you are assuming the bolt number 1, then forget the remaining bolt. Just think about that due to turning moment caused by W or eccentric load, what happens in particular bolt number 1? Yes, it will fail in this direction. So opposite direction of it will represent the secondary shear loading. So you have to follow the same procedure by taking individually bolt numbers 2, 3 and 4. So dear student, this was the chapter number 3 in which we have specially taken the case of the various loads of an eccentric loads which are acting on a bracket or a bolt system. That is, in particular, there are 3 cases we have solved. Case number 1 in which the eccentric load is parallel to the bolt axis. Case number 2, eccentric load is of course perpendicular to the axis of bolt, and third one is the eccentric load, of course, acting bolt system in parallel manner, but the plane containing to both of the eccentric load as well, the bolt system are parallel. I hope by attending this video lecture, you are getting well. Even you are finding any difficulty or you have the query in mind, without hesitation, let me inform, come to me. We will discuss a lot about it. We have a solution to it. And kindly stay tuned up with our this video lecture that we are uploading uh, day by day. Thank you. Thank you for your patience to attend this my video lecture. Thank you very much.